All right, today we are going to be installing the end wall kits. This greenhouse kit comes with your greenhouse, of course, which you see here, the roll-up sides, which I have to install yet, and the end wall kits. You can buy those each separately. If you wanted to, you can make your own end wall out of 2x4s or whatever, but personally I wanted it to look nicer and stronger. So the end wall kits that comes with this has, on this particular greenhouse, it's a 1 1/4 inch tubing, square tubing. We need to put the door right in the middle. It's a 36-inch door. We need to find the center of this, so we measure the total width of the greenhouse, divide it in two, and make a mark right here, right in the middle. So this, we're at the end of the greenhouse. This is where the door is going to go. I measured from the center of each ground stake and marked the middle right here. Then from the middle I measured 18.5 inches here, marked it, and 18.5 inches here and marked it. Next I put in my ground stakes for my uprights here, and you want them close to the, you're gonna have to put a line at the end of your greenhouse because you don't want your wall out sticking out too far, obviously. So now what we're gonna do is check it. Put that there. These pieces here are for the headers. They go horizontally, but we're going to use them here to check. So like I said, I measured 18.5 inches here, 18.5 inches here, and we should have 35 3/4 basically is what I have here. And that's good for a 36-inch door. That way you don't have to shim it or anything like that. So that is good to go. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these little brace bands here. These will go at the very top, directly above the ground stakes that I just pounded in for the door. One's going to go here, and the other one is going to go on this side here. Okay, so I got my 10-foot upright here. Now we're going to slip it through the stakes we just pounded in. All right, we need to cut this upright here shorter in order for this hole here to line up with this one here. And if we put a tape measure on the middle of this hole on the upright here to the square hole, it looks like about 1.5 inches is what we have to cut off this pipe, but on the other end. All right, so I'm ready to cut the upright. Remember to cut the end that is going towards the ground, not the one with the hole in it, but the other end. Now I decided to cut it or mark it here at 1 3/8 rather than 1.5. I started looking at it better. It looks to be more like 1 3/8. If it's not enough, I can always cut more off, so that's not a big deal. Safety glasses. The reason for it, I'm going to be using a Diablo Steel Demon blade on here. This will cut through wood, no problem, but it's made for steel. I was using it for my solar array. I had 2-inch schedule 40 pipe. That's got some thick walls on it. And it was cutting through there like I was going through a 2x4. It was amazing. But you have to wear safety glasses. I can't stress this enough because that steel was hitting me in the face. Even if I was, away from the blade on this side, it still hits me in the face. And it hit me in the forehead and started bleeding. So they're hot, sharp chips hitting you in the face. All right, we'll just put it into the ground stake again. Okay, I line these two up. Looks perfect. All right, so this is how the strap should be put on. This here, this side should be on the outside of the greenhouse. everything nice and smooth so it doesn't rip the plastic. And of course the nut would go on this side here. So once you checked and make sure that it is plumb and straight up and down according to the level, then you would tighten the nut over here on this side, tighten it all down, and this will clamp around the bow here, and this is not moving. Alright, next, after we find out where the door is going to go and have that marked and set, this is a 48-inch header that's going to go here. There's going to be another upright that's going to go here. We can use this to measure it actually. So we want to burn our next hole over here. Put that up against there like that. We're going to burn a hole here, and the same thing on the other side. This is the header for the door, but I'm using it as if it were the upright. This is the header that's going here, and so I got to burn a hole here. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Definitely want to put that out. There's dead grass under there, and that will smolder. Okay guys, so now what we can do, use the door header as if it were an upright. Put it down like that. Get your other header, put it here, and that will give you the distance of where your next upright's going to go. We're going to want to put that close to the line and close to within an 1/8 inch, because that's basically the wall thickness here of this. Doesn't have to be perfect, just be close. And good enough right there. Got my 3/4 inch bolt with a washer on it so I don't mess up the end here. And that looks pretty good. That ground is hard. Dry clay. It is tough stuff. And the same thing we're going to do on the other side. Alright guys, so I got my uprights all installed, and I also put in my headers. Headers are very easy to install. This one here is a 48-inch header, and that one is also a 48-inch header. They are 60 inches up from the ground, and they're installed using L brackets, as you see here in the picture. And you screw them in using tech screws that they supply you in the kit. So on the headers here, this one here, install that whatever height they recommend at the instructions that come with your door, storm door. Alright guys, so next what we have to do is put in my baseboards here, and then we got to put in the channels that hold the plastic down there and all the way around so we can put our plastic on. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I got my 2x6 and I measured the space in between here, and we have to do that for each part of the end wall. And I put the L brackets on here, And on the board, of course, you're going to use wood screws, deck screws preferably. I use 1 5/8 deck screws. And then for the screws for here, you want to use the metal tech screws that they give you, the self-tapping screws. And they're going to go on here. And this one I already did. And the same thing on this side. Alright, so what's happening here is I'm going through this pipe, and I have another pipe going inside of this one. So what's happening is the self-tapping screws are going through the first pipe. They'll start to thread and then hit this pipe and they'll stop rather than drilling through it. So in a situation like that, what you're going to have to do is pre-drill the hole. Most likely on these corner the corner ground stakes. So I think this is a 5/32, which is the same size as the tip of your self-tapping screws. And you're just going to have to pre-drill a hole going through the first and second pipe. That's the first pipe. And the second pipe. Now these self-tapping screws should go right in, and that's it. Alright guys, I just finished up with my baseboards on both front and back end walls, so that is all set. Next thing we have to do is install this wire lock channel. This is where your greenhouse plastic is going to attach to with a special wire. It's called a wiggle wire, but I'll show you that later. So we have to install this basically from the hip board all the way around to the other hip board, all along the baseboard in the front and back end wall. And since I have a roll-up side, we have to install it here going all the way down the hip board. Now if you don't have roll-ups, the roll-up side, then you would hook it up to the baseboard. But since I have the roll-up sides, we're going to hook it up to the hip boards. So let me show you what I'm doing here. The first thing we need to do on this end here, this is going to connect starting here, going all the way on top of the bow, all the way to the top, and like I said, all the way to the other side. But the first thing we have to do here is pre-drill 2 holes in this aluminum channel here. So they're going to go here. So the first hole that I drilled is 1 inch from the end, and the second hole is 4 inches from the end. Now that's going to attach here like this. Alright, so either you get somebody to help you, and my wife is busy right now. I'm going to put this here with a clamp. Maybe I should move it over a little bit. It's lightweight, it's aluminum. It'll a clamp like this will hold it, no problem. Now we want to get some, I have some 1 5/8 deck screws, and we want to put those there. Now again, I'm using 1 5/8 screws. The board is 1 1/2 inch. You would think these would go through, but because of the thickness of the channel here, they're just about flush when you get to the other side. All right, now we have to make this go flush up against the bowl here, so we have to bend it here. Now, in the instructions, they really don't tell you how to do it, but you got to use a little common sense. If I were to push this right now, this board will twist. Okay, this board right here. So, get a good C-clamp like this. And what we want to do is C-clamp the very bottom portion to the bowl. Okay, bottom portion is C-clamped. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this right here like that. Now these will work. This will hold it. It kind of help bend it actually. Kind of hold it in place. So essentially that is done. Now we want to put a Tech screw here and about every 18 inches all the way around. All right, your first Tech screw, you want it where your channel first hits your bowl, obviously. That's right about here. Now when I say Tech screws, they are the self-tapping screws that come in the kit. They call them Tech screws. And you want to make sure the channel is central or centered with your bowl. That's the first one, and just keep going on every about 18 inches. And again, make sure the channel is central. All right, so I finished putting the wire lock channel on the front and in the back. Now in the middle here, I ended up with a gap of about 11.5 inches. That's going to depend on what kit you buy, how wide your greenhouse is, and how high your hip boards are going to be. Okay, it's all going to depend. But if you end up with a gap there, you're going to have to piece it in like I did here and screw it down. Also use a clamp. When you put one side in, the other side is going to be raised up. Use a good C-clamp. It'll bring it down for you, and then put your self-tapping screw in. And it worked out pretty nice. So next we have to put the wire lock channels along the hip boards here, going all the way down, and on that side also, and along the front and back end wall on the baseboards here. All right, so now we're going to put the wire lock channel on the hip board. Now I pre-drilled holes about every 18 inches all the way down, and we want to mount it right near the top of the hip board and up against the other wire lock channel. Hold it there. And I'm using 1 1/4 inch long deck screws, basically. There. So like I said, every 18 inches, and we're going to put that all the way down. Alright, so now I put all the wire lock channels all the way down the hip boards. Next, what we have to do is put a wire lock channel here where your roll-up's going to go. So it's going to go basically in here. Now here we have a double pipe. We got the ground stake, and then you got the bowl going into it. So what's likely to happen here is while I'm drilling, it's going to go through the first pipe. It'll start threading before it hits the second pipe, and then it'll stop. So we're going to have to pre-drill the holes here. Here not so much, but I did pre-drill the hole here. Put a hole here, and I put a hole on this end. I'll probably end up putting one or two more in here also, but I'll do that after. So now my main concern is to put this here. So I'm going to pre-drill a hole. I'm going to go through the hole, my existing hole here, and put that right where it's supposed to be. Okay, right there, marked. It really bites. Yeah, that's true now. All right, now we shouldn't have any problem putting in the self-tapping screw. Because you got to remember the tip on the self-tapping screw is only so long before it starts threading. All right. And then here we'll probably have to use a clamp. Make sure it's big enough. Make sure that looks good. Okay. Get a self-tapping screw. And that's good. And I'll just for just strength wise, I'll probably end up putting two more here. All right, that ain't going nowhere. And we're going to do that on every corner. All right, so now we need to put the wire lock channel here on the baseboard. I measured this to go right where the wood is, not where my metal square tubing is. So let's clamp this thing. Okay, I'm going to be using 1 1/4 inch outdoor screws, exterior screws. Kind of short for decking screws, but it's the same type, but just shorter. 1 1/4 inch long. And I pre-drilled holes on this channel here, approximately 1 inch from the end and about every 18 inches. Okay, now when we get to our end here, you don't want this channel going all the way to the edge because your door trim is going to go here. So we want this right where the wood ends. It's not going to stay there, is it? Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right guys, so I am all done with all the wire lock channels. I installed the wire lock channel here. It goes across the bow on the end only and on the very end on the other side. We've installed it here on the hip board going all the way down. We installed it here on this part of the bow and on the baseboard on the front and in the back end walls. The only thing we have left to do now is put the plastic on the end walls, put my doors in, and the main plastic going over the entire greenhouse. But we have to wait for a calm day where there's no wind, because obviously the wind will blow the plastic off. It'll be kind of rough to do. So guys, we're gonna have to end it here. Appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video.